on empowering women, digitizing access, the role of women banking agents in India's financial ecosystem. So the session will be moderated by Dr. Suparna Datta, who's Manager, Knowledge Management and Program Communication, Grameen Foundation. The panelists for the session would be Aishwarya Chandrasekhar, Marketing Lead for FIA Global, Amrita Kapoor, CEO, Swadhar FinAccess, Sonal Jaitley, Associate Partner and Lead, Gender Equity and Social Inclusion, Microsafe Consulting, and Devashree Khandelwal, Associate Director for Inclusive Banking Unit, HSBC India. So I may request all the panelists and moderators to come on the stage, please, while we settle down. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarthak, for introducing me and the panels today. Very good afternoon. Is it afternoon? No, almost. It's very good morning to everybody who's attending our session today. And that the warmth is needed. It's a cold morning in Delhi. And thank you for those who are attending, who are out of their blankets and attending the session. Thanks a lot for coming here. It's a very special session. It's an all-women session, first of all, so I don't know which other panel was all women in this conference, but this definitely is the one for the only one. So we are the only one. Okay. So then that makes it extra special. So, and the topic is very interesting. You know, it's about empowering women, digitizing access, and what role can women BC agents play in the BC in the ecosystem. Banking agents play, women banking agents play in the financial ecosystem to make it more inclusive for them. So in the yesterday and today, you know, the sessions that I have attended, there has been a lot of discussions about you know, what kind of gender gaps and regional gaps exist in the possession, ownership of smartphones, in the internet access, in the online transactions. But despite all these variations, I will especially highlight the variations because in the gender in the gender issues. Despite all these gaps, we have to acknowledge that progress has been made in India, right? And but again, while progress has been made and we are moving forward, out of the 1.3 million BC outlets, only a small fraction are run by the women, banking agents or BC agents. So let's, for this particular discussion, we will delve deeper into how the policy, technology, institutions, and the field practices can converge and make this financial ecosystem truly inclusive for gender. We have a very interesting panel here today. So we have a CEO, we have business and marketing heads, we have very senior bankers, and we definitely have a gender expert. But what, you know, if I take a sum total of all your designations, official designations, each one of you is an innovator, right? You've innovated processes, you've innovated systems, and you are each one of you is also a thought leader, okay? So I will start from there, and the way I want to, as the audience comes in, the way I want to start this panel is I would give an icebreaker question to each one of you, which will be the same question, but I want to see your reflections on that, okay? So let's start with a very basic question, which is why, before we go into how and what of it. So what capabilities women agents bring that the others do not? While we talk about the gender, it's important. Why are we talking about gender inclusion in the financial ecosystem? What will the sector lose out if we forego gender parity in the agent onboarding or enrollment. So why gender? Why is this women onboarding, women banking agent onboarding so important? What are the issues? What are we going to lose if we do not do that? So I will start with you, Aishwarya.
Hello. Yeah. Thanks, Suparna. It's a wonderful question, and I want to add one experience of mine in Chennai near Tiruvottriyur, where I had gone to talk to one of the women BC agents, and it was close to 55 kilometers away from where I was staying, and she was available. I went there at 4 p.m. She was available at 8 because it was the first of the month, and she was out there giving pensions to only the old people, because it was when I met her, she told me that they simply will be waiting for me. So the one thing that in women banking agents bring to the fold is leave nobody behind. They are the most inclusive people that I have met, as compared to their male counterparts, unfortunately. But this is the one anecdotal reference that I can turn to.
Thank you, Sonal, and thank you, WIPIN and Access Development Services, for this absolutely wonderful summit. It's been so inspiring and insightful, and I'm sure it'll be today as well. This is a wonderful panel because we're talking about women empowerment, and it's a all-women panel. Suparna, thank you for that wonderful question. So if I may say, the women agents in India, in rural India and semi-urban and urban India, because India is so diverse, they are actually the trust builders. They are the translators of technology. And if I may say, they are the first responders of the digital ecosystem. And India is leading in, supply of digital financial services and is recognized as a world leader. So at Swadhar FinAccess, and from my personal experiences at Swadhar, and we've just completed 20 years and trained over 1 crore of vulnerable community members. If I may say, it is these women agents, the SHG workers, the business correspondents, the community champions that we see in remote areas of India who are actually at the intersection of trust, livelihood viability, and system scale. They are the ones who enable each one of these parameters, and they are critical to take digital access to scale with the human-centric approach, which is what we practice at Swadhar.
Yeah. Just for one follow-up question. When you talk about the human-centric approach, what exactly do you mean by that?
Okay, thank you, Suparna. I absolutely love that question. So, while digitization is absolutely necessary for widespread access of products, financial products, digital financial services, human-centric approach means that ensuring that we take a humanistic approach. The human-to-human interaction is imperative, and hand-holding support that a human or a woman can provide, a woman or a human being can provide another human being, is imperative. So without that hand-holding help and that trust building, the empathy, the ability to put ourselves in the shoes of another person to understand what their actual needs are, and then explain to them, make them aware, give them agency, access, and action, is imperative. So it is the empathy I'm talking about, and it is the human interaction, which is absolutely imperative. They both are two pillars: digital access along with anchoring with human interaction.
And you think women do that better than men?
I think women-to-women interaction is good. I don't think we can stereotype women doing it better than men, because there are a lot of men in our industry who I see with very high empathy. We have, the CEO of Access sitting right here and other esteemed, our male colleagues sitting right here who are doing a fantastic job. So I think empathy is more important. Being a human being is more important rather than, that's not gender specific, I'd say.
Right. Sonal?
Yeah, thanks, Suparna. Thanks for the wonderful moderation, and thanks to Access for inviting me for this panel, Meenakshi and Vipin. What women bring is, of course, I would like to see it at an ecosystem level where the whole agent network system needs to be made more viable, first of all, for both men and women. It's still not a viable system. So the unit economics has to work for both women and men. Women are somehow, ready to stick with it even when the economics is not working for them. That's something unique that women bring in to the agent networks. Across a lot of studies that we've done in Bangladesh, Kenya, Nigeria, India, we find that women agents actually bring trust. Trust is the biggest differentiating factor. And in this increasingly digital world and the fancy world of AI, I think trust is going to be the biggest currency of the financial system. So we can't undermine the value of trust, and the structure and the networks that bring trust and imbibe and inculcate trust in digital systems and in financial systems. Being a subcontinent-sized country, we are still not able to move women from basic to advanced users of financial services. And to move women to use and meaningfully use a bouquet of financial services, not just credit, but savings, insurance, pension, how they save, borrow, invest, protect themselves from risk. If you want to do all of that at optimum level at a national scale for a country like India, we can't let go and we can't afford not to have a strong women agent networks, because it is now proven through evidence that women are able to inculcate greater trust in financial services. They are much better at customer retention, and they are also much better at increasing women's uptake of financial services because of the trust and proximity they enjoy with women customers. So it's in the interest of providers and the ecosystem to build a strong women agent networks, and it's purely business. I'm not talking social and charity here.
So far I heard empathy, trust with a capital T, and then empathy, and I think some kind of an extension. You talked about hand-holding roles and some kind of extension of the caregiving role that they play in in their households. And we are not talking about the urban women only. We are talking about the last mile advisors and the agents and the customers as well. And as you mentioned correctly, that the peer-to-peer advisory, when a woman advises another woman, much like in the social network that we see, that belief in that is much more, and the woman customer can ask many more questions more openly if the agent is also a woman. To a very seasonal banker.
Thanks, Suparna, for such a nice question, and thanks, Access, for giving me opportunity to speak about women. So I'll not talk about business agent. First, I'll talk about women as a whole, because this panel, again, having 5 women over the panel. She powers inclusion, irrespective wherever she is. She is not invited, she is indispensable. So wherever we are standing. I think now we become the part of entire journey and we are indispensable. And now coming to a specific question to banking agent, as Sonal rightly mentioned, that in India, still the contribution of women in banking is only 10% of the entire population, whereas in other countries, Nigeria and other countries, it's far more than that. So what are the things which are not letting our women to go forward in banking agent? I think socio-cultural, this thing, infrastructure, and more of a structural changes. To run and to come forward for anything, I think sustainability is the key. Because running just a BC agent, we all know about the pays which are associated with it. I think we have to make the structural change. We know that there are a couple of corporates or agencies, NGOs are working with women to uplift their business. So more than business agent, we have to see how we can make them sustainable partner of the institution which bring more digital and financial independence in the system. Yeah.
That's true. And I think some of it, Sonal also said that one half of the population. So if you are not focusing on women in any part of life, and in our case, in this case, as banking agents, then you're losing out on their expertise. And there are certain expertise which women have, which men may also have, but maybe women portray those, demonstrate those much more because of the kind of sociocultural structures we have. So losing out on that will actually mean that we are losing out, the industry is losing out on those expertise and uniqueness that women can bring as professionals. I will now, I have one more question which will help us set the context. We know that there are a lot of socioeconomic, cultural barriers for which we have only a small fraction of women banking agents. And all the statistics show that, right? And I talked about, when I was introducing the topic, about the gender gaps in the ownership of, we are talking about digital access, so I will talk about ownership of smartphones, in the internet access, and especially this is true for the rural areas, right? And the hard to reach areas, the underbanked and unbanked areas. So those, keeping in mind that those issues, what will be, so I will start with Amrita here, right? So what are the three, very quickly, because we're just setting the context, what will be the two, three major barriers that you see which are stopping or preventing women, more and more women, to join the workforce as banking correspondent agents?
Thank you, Suparna, for again that extremely critical question that is facing all the women agents across India today. So while there's a lot of women empowerment that has happened in the country, and we have great data to prove that, what still remains in very remote areas of India, because we have diverse geographies, very, very difficult geographies, mobility is one thing that we must address. There's a lack of mobility that very, very capable women agents who are influencers in their villages, they are not mobile. Second, is safety. So we have to really work towards safety of, better safety for women in remote areas, in urban areas and rural areas across India, as a whole ecosystem, as a country, as organizations across sectors, the government, everybody. I really think if we all, there's a power of one, each of us decides to provide safety, the women agents will just be able to, kind of create exponential results. And third is remuneration. Some of them lack timely remuneration. There are gaps in commissions, there are delays in commissions. So if we can really formalize the system in a very fair way, where we remunerate the women agents, they will just give out their best. They already are. They will just be motivated further.
So when you talk about remuneration, you mean something in addition to what their male counterparts are getting?
No, I'm talking about equal and fair remuneration. Absolutely what, the male counterparts are getting. What happens is a lot of the women agents, the business correspondents, our community champions, do not get, they work on a commission basis in many, many villages in India. Those are not timely, and honestly speaking, they are not even up to the mark. They should be more, they should be fair. We all deserve fair remuneration for our work. And that system has to be created. A need assessment has to be carried out according to labor laws, according to what they are deserving of. Equal and fair pay is one of the biggest motivators, timely as well.
Okay. But that could be a gender agnostic issue, right? I mean, when you're talking about fair remuneration, that's for
Absolutely,
The
but
BC ecosystem.
yes, yes,
BC
yes.
agents, all
BC agents, all the BC agents, and since there are a lot of business correspondents who are women in the villages, because they overcome the social barrier that women in the villages face, they can easily talk and connect with other women. That is our culture, that is our social, social norms that exist in India. So we have to be conscious that they are remunerated well. There are places where they are not, fairly and timely remunerated.
So along with the digital access, they should not only have access to these financial resources, they should have control over them, control and decision making about how they use this. So that's a social problem again. I'll now move to Sonal. The same question, but can you give some examples from the various international markets where you worked or researched on? How is it different from, firstly, are the challenges any different for women banking agents in different countries, in the developing or developed countries, wherever you have worked? And what would be those three which are similar or which are dissimilar compared to India?
Yeah. So I would say, and we work on agent networks across Asia and Africa, and the challenges are actually universal, but we do see very marked differences in levels of empowerment and internalized agency, especially amongst African and Asian women. So we see that it's much higher in Africa because it's also a different culture. There are, much more single women-led households across the African continent, and women are much more empowered and independent there. So that internalized agency also translates to how you conduct business and how you have a greater holding power to exercise something that might not work for you in the short term, but work for you in the long term. In Asia, across Asia, we see that women are not the agency needs to increase much more. And there are greater social barriers. Of course, social barriers are also there in Africa, but Asia, we see social barriers are immense for women. And these barriers are the usual ones, universal, that all of us know, that we lose women agents to marriage, maternity, mobility, and money. Sort of also for agent networks at the supply side to realize that they have to account for the lived realities of women agents and not treat women agents as male agents and sort of designed to think that it is going to be same. It's not going to be same if you really want to retain women agents for a longer term. So those are the differences, but for example, BRAC has some innovative approaches. We see that they specify for each agent how do you deal differently with women and men customers. In some of their outlets, they also pair women agents as well as men agents together so that whoever the customer wants to deal with and has a better engagement. So every provider tries different strategies, but we see that providers who are intentional to make it work, it's not a rocket science to make it work. So you have to design and plan for the realities, the socio-economic realities, and it is definitely possible to overcome these social challenges.
I think that's an excellent point, because we do talk a lot about gender intentional designs in products and services, but what about the processes? Like you said that the retention strategies for males, which might work for males, might not work for females because of a different the structure, the social structures are different, the cultural structures or expectations from women are different. One example could be, which we have seen in our work at Grameen, is that men are considered to be the chief breadwinner of the family. So even if the woman is earning equally and contributing equally to the household, sometimes even more, it's a secondary thing that she has in life. It might not be called a hobby. In some cases we've seen is something which she does, which is not considered to be a profession, not a vocation. But if the monetary contribution that she's doing, if that is taken off, if she does not do that, that's a problem for the household, because that will, reduce the household income. So the benefits of her money that she's earning is enjoyed by the household, by the male members of the household, but she doesn't have that agency or the decision-making power over the money. So that is definitely a big challenge. And we don't know how much, the society's mentality around this has changed, or perception about women's contribution in the household income has changed. But I think in small baby steps, I think we all can agree that there are progress, along with, the technical progresses of more women are having smartphones today, more women do online transactions, more women have internet access, and they're using it for not only for accessing social media, but that's more in the urban, but they're using this for making transactions. More women have accounts to start with that. And so there are changes that are happening, but some mindset change is also needed in how, women in the workforce are seen as contributing to the economy. As much as they do, there's always a second thing. For the first thing being that they're the primary thing is family and household. So that change is definitely needed. To Divashri. So I will add a little twist to the question, or something added to the question, because I think we all see the barriers and the challenges almost similarly. That when you talk about inclusive banking, there could be a ton of definitions. What exactly would you call inclusive? Because when I ask you this question, obviously, the barriers and the challenges would also come to the forefront, but solely from the banker's point of view, what is inclusive banking for a woman? Is it only having access to account? Is it only having access to an internet through which she can do some UPI transaction or digital transaction? What exactly would be your definition? And in the context of that, please talk about the barriers and how those are getting mitigated.
Okay. So I'll start, as everybody said, that there are barriers: socioeconomic, digital, infrastructure, pay, access to sustainable growth, these kind of barriers. I'll divide that into three parts. Okay, trust and empowerment is already built by the women. It's proven in multiple ways that women are more trustworthy and they are empowered. Microfinance have proven that record. Now the lacking is transformation, and that's what inclusive banking is all about. Giving financial access to female at certain rate is good, because that's give them financial independence to evaluate the things and get into it. But how to transform, being a catalyst to the owner of their own, how to do that, I think that's what inclusive banking is. There are multiple ways to do it. Is obviously we have to come out. Still we see that in rural areas, smartphone penetration is not that great, which we thought it will be. Still they are dependent on their men to take calls on many. How we can transform that is what we have to work around it. Will supply chain management at the ground level will help them? And this, I'll just quote an example. When I was working with MFI and at the ground level in Haryana, I'll just quote the state. When we have gone there, they were very happy to see that we are coming at the doorstep and providing financial services to them. But their question always that how I will use that. You will give me the money, I'll give it to my husband, he will use it for his business. Whereas I want that money to run my entrepreneur. I have the capability to run the business, but I don't know the supply chain. I don't know how to go out in the market and sell those goods which I am creating. So I think that's what inclusive is, where we have to create, obviously, digital access. There are good solutions available for women which they can use and do that. How to connect and make them come into the force of entrepreneurs, because that is still lacking. And from HSBC perspective, we do work with SROs and NGOs to provide them lots of financial literacy. But that's not sufficient. Financial digital literacy is part of the journey. But the transformation will come when they will come in the entrepreneurs. So HSBC also started. So we have, I think we have completed more than 8 lakh women through digital literacy we have covered. Now we are working with NGOs so that they will come on the platform where they will turn into entrepreneurs, learns how to do the saving, how to do the investments, and how to earn more. I think that's where I think family and society will realize their importance. Because whenever any female come out and do something, she build trust in that particular society. Okay, and barriers, as I already spoke about, it's socio-culture. We ourselves have to support each and every woman, whatever way we interact with, to come out from that thing. Also the male counterparts in terms of counseling and all those things, that they should allow, or not allow, I'll not say that we have to take permission from men, but they should realize the importance of female coming out and doing something for themselves as well as for the community. Yeah.
That's true. Actually, we are, the male engagement is equally important. So while sensitizing the women about their rights also, I think it's a part of rights also. It's not only learning about sensitizing them or creating awareness about, digital literacy or literacy as a whole, but it's also about the rights. In some way it becomes, I don't want to sound like a feminist here, but the right portion is also important. How much control and access she should have. We talked about agency. Resilience is also important, whether the structure, the socio-cultural structure is conducive to creating the resilience for women entrepreneurs, for women banking agents. That is also very important. Very often in the framework that we use, in the gender framework, very often we pay a lot of attention to the income part of it, whether she is earning her own income, and she can retain that income and use it, but using it as the way that the woman wants, it depends on the agency that she's allowed. We have to use the word allowed because the way the society and the cultural aspects are structured, and also the resilience. How much what institutions and the ecosystem. We will come to the ecosystem questions soon after this. What the ecosystem is doing to ensure that it is giving enough enablers to the women so that they are also very resilient. So something goes wrong, then they not simply feel that I cannot do anything because I've lost my business. I have nothing to look forward to or fall back upon. So, and how fast they can adopt. So it depends on literacy. Literacy is important. Creating sensitization awareness and the male engagement is equally important. I will, on the question of this capacity building, I will go to Sonal because we discussed this question a lot when we were preparing. And the question is, I will just read out the way I have phrased the question, is that Sonal, you have actually worked in integrating gender into the large-scale institutional programs. We all know that, right? So what kind of policy levers or incentives do you think that banks, NBFCs, MFIs, and regulators should adopt to make gender inclusion a non-negotiable aspect in the agent networks? So talk about the foundational measures and talk about any other supply side and demand side from both sides. So what could be these how can we make this non-negotiable?
Yeah, so I think policy has already mandated that we should have at least 30% women agents, because women agents improve the quality of agent networks. So RBI has already mandated that. I think SBI already has a 30% agent network with them. But I think the very foundational principle is that across the agent life cycle, you need to integrate gender. And it is simple that you need to account for the agent life cycle from the lived realities of women and men in an economic space, which turns out to be very different for both of them, because agent networks have to account that they're not starting from an equal footing. currently what's happening is that providers think that both male and female agents start at an equal footing. That's not the reality, because she is bearing the full responsibility of not just child care, but child care, domestic work, elderly care. In rural areas, she also does animal care. This takes 6.5 hours of her daily time, and all the agents that we work with do and carry the heavy shoulders, sort of the heavy responsibility of domestic work, elderly care, child care, every other care that's required in the household to raise the household. So they are doing that along with being an economic sort of a banking agent, and that's not a level playing field. So you definitely as a provider have to understand this social reality and either account for it or work in the long term, so that that responsibility, there is a social infrastructure around the ecosystem which takes away some of these responsibilities and frees up her time, because women agents are time poor. So how do agent networks account for that and build their systems to provide her so much support that she is successful? So we did see that in Bihar. Again, I keep on saying that it's not an impossible thing to do. Providers who are providing robust support in terms of training, constant troubleshooting and hand-holding till the time they reach a space where they are able to mentor others, then they are able to retain their women agents. And one other very common thing that I hear is that it's very costly to retain and have women agents, because it takes everything plus to firstly onboard them and then retain them. So my point is that if you figure out the cost benefit analysis of spending that time on support and retention, and how that relational capital and the trust that women agent networks are bringing to your agents is translating into economic capital by greater retention of women borrowers, greater generation of leads, greater volume of transactions, you will find that that cost is nothing. So that cost benefit analysis is not done by the providers, and the usual thing that we hear is, oh, it's very costly, it's very difficult. No, it's not costly and difficult. We have to put in that work to gain the long-term advantage in terms of capital, if nothing else, which women agent networks are able to bring in, and there is enough evidence now to sort of demonstrate that.
Amrita, on the retention strategy for retaining more women agents, have you tried something on the field? What has worked and what has not worked? And I would also like to know about the phygital approach that you have on both of these. So first tell us about the retention strategies, if you have tried any, and how that has panned out.
So thank you, Suparna, for that question. I'll just give some context to it from our Swadhar journey so far. So Swadhar Finaccess is a leading partner in the National Strategy of Financial Inclusion in the Center for Financial Literacy project of the Reserve Bank of India since its pilot stage in 2017. So, we have 211 centers across Bihar, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra, where we work in very deep, remote, rural areas, and each center has to, provide digital and financial literacy and inclusion to 3 blocks. And within each block, 50% of the villages and 30% of the adult population in each of those villages. Now, how Swadhar has been successfully doing this and reached an, outreach of over 10 million plus in 2025 has been primarily because of course, dedicated workforce. We are 500 plus trainers at Swadhar. We have best practices which we have presented to, in the College of Agricultural Banking, Pune, and Reserve Bank of India to all other, partner NGOs, along with the partner banks who, the public sector banks who are part of the National Strategy of Financial Inclusion. So our best practices include recruiting, women agents locally, and they serve as what we call financial health workers or community champions, because as our trainers move from village to village, and there are multitude of villages that we at Swadhar need to cover and include digitally and financially. It is these, women agents, the business correspondents. We work very, very closely with the business correspondents in each village. So we recruit locally, we train them locally. The capacity building, the hand-holding support that Swadhar provides has gone a long way in retaining the women agents. And when they become connected to Swadhar and to, the larger good, as Devashi was also talking about, they gain a huge sense of self. The women in the villages who we want to financially educate and include, especially provide digital access to, they have demonstrated deep trust in our trainers at Swadhar and also the financial health workers who are from the village. So, by continuously training and counseling them, which Swadhar does. Our trainers provide, financial counseling, also hand-holding support to the trainers, which translates to them providing this, support and hand-holding support continuously to the woman in the village. And we have done a lot of research through our program in partnership with the Gates Foundation, which is called the FINACT program. It is research and training for action. We have actionable insights which we have developed, which have demonstrated that there are actually different types of personas in the same village, 4 types of personas, which capture the different stages a woman in the village could actually be in her financial journey. So there is no copy paste or a stereotype there. There is like a passive observer who's a very vulnerable woman who's probably a choti bahu or the youngest daughter-in-law of a village who's unexposed. Then there is someone who is educated, but she does not have that much interest or access to really open her own savings account or work. And then of course in the same village we have someone who's a village influencer, like a Asha worker, Jivika worker, who is actually the BC agent or the community champion we are talking about. Now Swadhar prepares content and training methodologies based on the needs of different women personas in the village. We train our business correspondents who we work with and financial health workers who are women as per these different women in their different financial journeys. And we have reports on these actionable insights that are in our FINACT Gates microsite, and we have presented them all over, and it's an open knowledge hub so that others can also use this, whoever's working with business correspondence, because our reports and research have demonstrated through our years of practice that to retain them, we have to definitely do a lot of capacity building, hand-holding support throughout the journey, so that the woman not only uses one time a financial service, but becomes more financially resilient for the long term.
That's wonderful response. I would now move to Divashri and then to Aishwarya. Clearly, what Amrita is talking about is about partnerships, right? You talked about, Amrita, about partnering with community groups, finding out who's the influencer, and catering.
And collaboration with the local stakeholders.
Yes, collaboration.
Partnership and collaboration is the way forward.
Is the way forward. So Divashri, from your perspective, you share us some insights about what kind of partnerships you have seen that have been successful between corporates and community-based institutions that have actually helped in getting more and more women into the banking agency ecosystem. Okay. And I'll then move with the same question to Aishwarya. Your insights then.
I think when we talk about partnership, it's about corporate, fintechs, and the community. Corporate brings the capital, the revenue generating stream. Fintech brings the innovations, and community brings the confidence or the connection, I'll say. What what we have seen and what we can do better. I'll divide that into two parts. What we have seen that lots of banks have already institutionalized corporate linkages, okay, especially RRBs, where SHGs are the true example of corporate linkages. We have seen NGOs, women's running SHGs independently, supporting their own business at the ground level. However, at the another side, they are also reaching out to corporates in terms of completing the linkage program. As a HSBC, as I mentioned, we work with NGOs and SROs to do one side providing the literacy program, which we have done, and we are continuously working with the SROs, and our intention is to provide financial literacy and this thing. On the another side, our focus is to create more women entrepreneurs, as I mentioned, that we are looking to create, because that's where the transformation will come. Giving just digital literacy, giving just financial credit will not help them to move out of their comfort zone. We have to transform them so that they can see the returns. And that thing can happen only when all three players will come together. Corporate, who have to have agenda. So women inclusion is not a charity. It should be the strategy for all the corporates in their plan. Fintechs have to work more towards creating solution in vernacular languages, or whatever is the need. And I think women needs to be the architect of those solutions rather than just using it. It's more driven from the women so that it will be easier at the ground level to use. And then the community, because it's proven that when women comes, it brings community together.
Right. So, as we often say that from moving the narrative, looking at women from beneficiaries to women as drivers. So that. Moving on to FIA Global, Aishwarya. I will add a little more flesh to that question, which I asked about partnerships. We know that one of the things that FIA Global has championed is AI, usage of AI and technology for inclusion. So I would like to know what kind of partnership in the technology front, how the partnerships with the TSPs have provided the opportunity and the scope for including more and more women agents into the ecosystem. How has that worked out? Is the do it, and as a follow-up question on that is, do women see technology or perceive technology any differently than men do in the same vocation? We are talking about the agents over here. Is it harder? Because the perception is it might be harder for women to understand technology, to use technology. That is the perception that we have. Is it indeed like that? And how your partnership with TSPs
Not
have helped?
really. The one thing is, I completely disagree with this. When we had our fraud detection model that we rolled out, we were very conscious about the fact that we need more women agents to actually give us feedback on this. We also take feedback, we took feedback from them while developing the model. We needed to introduce the model to them more often so that they are conscious about having to use them. So I don't think it was, they were very open about it. We took the states of UP and Rajasthan, and what we realized is that they also needed some of their customers right in front of them, what we understand as dashboards, to actually, because it was all in their memory, what they were actually using. And now they can see this right in front of them. And it was actually quite remarkable because they were able to understand it far better and they were using it longer. So there were men who were dropping off. What I see is that when women are not introduced, when they are not in the path of adoption, is when they are actually building, when they actually drop off. But their interest, their availability, their reliability on technology is far more sharper than men. When it comes to your question on TSPs, I think the banks we work with, we are working on the automated recon engine, which banks are actually using our model to understand how they can be better, because ours is a bit faster than what we receive the data. And that's something where I think this is a little gender agnostic for us, because recon actually works, throughout our agent network in the specific banks that we work on. So, so it's not really, the gender aspect will not come in. But when it comes to the technology providers, banks are willing to shift to the AI models far more, with the accepted reality that we are moving in that direction. We do need to have more, innovation in this way for banking, the entire life cycle of a banking correspondent, the way I see it, and it's happening very soon. I'm sure FIA is pioneering this.
That's wonderful to know. I think in the interest of time, we will now move to the audience questions. If anybody in the audience has any blazing question, any burning question. No burning question? No not so burning question? Okay, so since we do have some couple of minutes, I will ask this question. It's a very futuristic question, actually. So in 2030, and I'll start from that corner. In 2030, how do you see the ecosystem in the context of women, gender inclusivity? How different it is going to be? Will it become better? Will it become worse? Will it remain the same? And what are the factors? Whatever you say, even if you say it is going to improve, why do you think it's going to improve? Not improve, why? Remain the same, then why?
Obviously, by 2030, we want to see it improved a lot. There are three things which I want to say. Representation, and that's what I aspire, that women should represent resilient and come into leadership positions. Okay, so represent by mean that at least 50% or 60% BC agent should come from women as part of it. And
as
why?
Opposed to 10% right now?
Yeah. So I'm hoping that by 2030, at least 50% they should come and contribute. They should be resilient enough. We have to work towards, as we discussed, that there are concerns, safety concerns around it. Cash movement is still a concern at the ground level. I think we have to work towards that. We have to provide proper pay structure and safety, security, fintech solutions so that they can come. And the third one is leadership. I think if we see today, still, if I'll talk about microfinance, is only 10% women who are in leadership position. I think that's, whereas 25% is still at the ground level. We really want to move them from ground level to the leadership position so that they take accountability and become the major part of the inclusion journey.
I think there's a couple of audience questions. So Sonal, can we take the questions first, then move on? Yeah. The lady here? Yeah.
सेफ फील करें, एम्पावर फील करें और वो आगे मतलब सस्टेन रह पाएँ. क्योंकि अभी मैंने जितना भी पढ़ा है, सुना है या जो भी मेरे एक्सपीरियंसेस रहे हैं ग्राउंड से, तो बीसी एजेंट्स का क्या है कि सिर्फ सिस्टम या नेटवर्क या मनी डिले या फिर कमीशंस का ही नहीं है, और भी उन्हें बहुत सारे के अनएड्रेस्ड है जिसके लिए वो काम कर रही है, जहाँ से एसोसिएटेड है वहाँ पर शायद एड्रेस करा नहीं जा रहा है या उन्हें एज अ मेंबर ट्रीट नहीं करते हैं, जिसकी वजह से भी वो डिमोटिवेटेड है. दे डोंट फील कि हमें काम पे जाना है. जब टाइम होता है तब चली जाती है, नहीं होता तो फैमिली को इंपॉर्टेंस देती हैं. दे डोंट वर्क एज अ प्रोफेशनल. लीडरशिप की कमी इसलिए भी आती है मैम क्योंकि उनका वो एड्रेस ही नहीं है, उन्हें पता ही नहीं है कि हाँ मैं इतने लोगों को सर्व कर रही हूँ। उन्हें वो लोगों को रिक्वेस्ट करती है कि मुझसे रिचार्ज कर लो सो दैट मैं कमीशन अर्न कर लूँ, बट दे डोंट नो अपनी खुद की वैल्यू कि वो क्या क्या कर सकती है, हाउ दे कैन ब्रिंग देयर ओन बिजनेस टू अप। तो वो इमीडिएट एक्शंस क्या हो सकता है फॉर हमारे जो इंस्टीट्यूट्स हैं ताकि वो ले सके, एटलीस्ट हम अपने लेवल पे तो कुछ स्टार्ट कर सकें। थैंक यू।
Yeah, I just wanted to add, see, there is no magic wand of an immediate action that will improve all of these systemic challenges, but I would say कि एक immediate action है कि हम अपना training, support, mentorship इतना बढ़ाएं कि they feel empowered to do their job much better. One is that. Second is, two other things is that the unit economics has to work for her. If she is earning well, she herself will find ways to improve the volume of transactions, which we have seen. There is no bigger motivation than good amount of money that she gets at the end of the month, and she's able to increase the volume of transactions. So how can she do that is the kind of support and troubleshooting and the training that the provider has to provide to help her become that professional. And also the third thing is that there has to be a career pathway that you show to her. She should not feel that this is just like a temporary thing she is doing part-time and then she can leave it and pack her bags and go tomorrow. So unless everyone, and it's common for all of us, right? When we see a future somewhere, we are more interested in taking that forward, and there is more motivation to put in effort to make it succeed. So that is very important. They have to see a future in it, and that future is that the more transactions volume that you do, the more customer retention, and you contribute not just to your own income but to the bigger picture of deepening financial inclusion for your community and for the country. So that pathway is invisible. She's dealing with a lot of social risks which compound her operational risks as an agent, which is invisible to the provider. So making all of that visible and providing her the support and also helping her envision a pathway of success in this profession is extremely important.
There's another question. Yes. Gentleman at the back.
Hi, my name is Abhivakash, and I am a development management scholar at Indian School of Development Management. My question is from Divashri. Since you mentioned about that you are working with women agents and also HSBC India, some of the initiatives. My only question is with respect to the self-help group, SHGs. Because in one of our curriculum, we went to a district in Uttar Pradesh and for a 15-day immersion journey. What we found that the self-help group women were really doing amazing. And since we all were talking about their empowerment, their access, and the role of male or their other family members also, we saw there is a change happening at the grassroots level. So could you please tell us about more on how HSBC or any other initiatives that you are in the future planning to work with in the self-help group as an institution? And apart from this, if yes, then how and what are the benefits if financial inclusion, if the financial services organizations, if they want to pursue to work with SHGs and make some changes or impact at the grassroots level?
Okay, so HSBC doesn't work with only JLG. They already working with at the ground level with SHGs as well. We have a sustainability team which work very closely with ground level projects. Wherever they feel there is a need and there is a proper outcome expected in terms of a project, they do run those projects. So in case you have any specific project in your mind, you can reach out to our sustainability team and they can help you with that. Yeah?
Sure, thank you.
Okay, we'll take this will be the last question in the interest of time. Yes.
So hi, I am Rahul from Rami. Yeah, thanks. I have three scenarios where I would like to understand, which of these are hurting the retention of female VCs more. Abundance, we've got 2.6 million VCs as per IBF, 1.6 live on the ground across 6 lakhs villages, which is about average of 3 VCs per village we're talking about. Second scenario is a limited set of products being offered through the BC agents by non-banking VCs, and where we talk about almost a million of them are non-banking VCs who have a very limited set of products which are available. And thirdly is the impact of UPI. So would really like to understand which is hurting them more, the retention part. Because there's been a lot of focus through our cities and the SRLMs in training the BCs, female VCs. The retention is not happening. And there's a huge dropout which is happening, which we've seen in UPSRLM, the UP's BC Sakhi program also. And we today talk about only about 1.32 BC Sakhis across the country. So just would love to understand more.
I want to take up the retention part, Rahul. See, one of the things which BC agents have, in order to thrive in the environment, is to have a very close relationship with the bank, the link branch. Having that gives you immense data on where you stand, what you can do. And what I have seen is that this becomes, it's easier for men to have this relationship. But for women, they have to work a little harder. I'm not saying it's not possible. They have to work a little harder.
In that, there's an added incentive for them because there's a 2.25% extra commission which is being paid
There is
to
more
the
than
female
that
VCs
commission.
than the male VCs.
Yes.
By the bankers. So I'm
Yes.
talking about banking VCs are anyway, banks are actually focused. The banking VC, we're talking about 350,000 VCs. We're talking about a huge chunk, which is the non-banking VC, which are there on the ground. Not in a village, you would have 4 such people doing offering primarily only APS services, nothing else. And with UPI coming in, APS is getting, that effect is becoming lesser and lesser.
But
the revenue are becoming lesser.
APS has its own set of...
That's where the cash is required. Otherwise, the UPI payments are happening. 56% penetration is already there, as per NPCI.
Yeah, you got me there. But APS agents, they have their own set of challenges. I'll still say it's a policy issue. But then they are on their own, isn't it? A lot of these SRLM BC women are a lot on their own, while there are they are being brought together. There are a lot of trainings happening at very prominent centers. But in UP especially, I feel they are very much on their own, functioning on their own, making decisions on their own, which means the products, are they really working, is what I feel.
So if I could also just answer Rahul, of course, and also, I see there's some commonalities in the question, and the young lady asked about how to empower the BCs, and the panel is essentially today that empowering women and digitizing access, just sharing our best practices from Swadhar FinAccess, because we just recently in November 25 got an award from Sadhan, the prestigious Elaban Memorial Award for advancing women empowerment. And, we're going to very soon put out our best practices for advancing women empowerment out there so that really all of us can use it. I'm going to give you the last mile perspective in remote rural areas and semi-urban areas, because Swadhar is working with the BCs, with the villagers. We have a large presence across 25,000 plus villages across the country for that. So, addressing the commonalities in the question, both are relevant. They need continuous mentorship for sure, and besides technical training about the product, so they can really become equally capable as their male counterparts. We have to provide them technical training besides soft skills training in confidence building, communication building, and how the work that they're doing is empowering multitudes of women across villages who have no idea about their rights, let alone rights to digital literacy, digital inclusion, financial inclusion. So, when women BCs or women agents are going to be trained technically and in soft skills, confidence, communication, and we make them realize, because in Swadhara, trainers serve as financial counselors, financial mentors, financial advisors. So, holistically looking at the woman and her journey and how she has this multiplier effect. So what she does is going to affect a woman, her family, the entire community, because at Swadhar, we really believe the woman is the fulcrum of the household. You educate her, you empower her, she will empower multitudes of women, community, and economies. So we have to look at women, BCs, women agents across India as trust builders. And when we, kind of counsel them to show them their worth and what impact they're having, besides give them that technical training and adequate and fair remuneration, they will encourage women across India and male counterparts to not only use the digital services, which is now becoming the lifeline of the Indian financial services, because that is how we will scale access through digital financial services. So the women BCs, empowered women BC, will encourage widespread use of financial services, trust in the digital landscape. Trust is key. And also, kind of scale resilient economies. So, make stronger resilient economies. So, 2030 vision, to answer your question, is exactly this. And I loved your question. It starts now. What are the steps that we are taking now? And Swadhar is taking steps, daily for that. And very quickly, we do have this digital program with the HSBC, our long-standing partner. Pawan is in the room. We have the program to also, scale through actionable insights through the GATES program. So these reports are there, and I urge everyone to look at those reports that we have developed through our work, which is in empowering women. So
that's wonderful, and that could be the closing remark, actually, for the panel. In the interest of time, I know many of you may have many questions, but I don't want to come between you and the lunch. So thank you for attending this panel today, and heartfelt thanks to my panelists. All of you came to sit in this panel, take all the hard questions. Actually, I had told some of the audience members that please ask hard questions. The moderator does not have to answer, the speakers have to. So I have that advantage, being the moderator. Thank you, everybody. Thank you all. Thank you, Access.
Thanks, Suparna. Thanks, fellow panelists. So, may I request for a quick photo op? I think there were lots to digest before we go to lunch from this session. So.